What's up, Livebearers? Welcome to Light Tap, a Vivised podcast. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Emily.
And today we have a very special guest, but she has a lot of names. She'll explain it in just a second. You're going to hear...
She's already shaking her head like, why?
What did I call?
I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Only we can call her a certain name. You can't, just from the disclaimer already.
Wow, I can't even get there. Okay, so I'm Katherine, and as these girls are hinting at very not subtly, I go by a lot of different names. My adult grown-up friends call me Kat, and if you've known me probably 15 years plus, you call me Kathy, so you're gonna hear them call me Kathy.
Yeah.
But this is not an invitation for any of
For you
these
guys to call her because you
people.
haven't earned that badge.
I mean, it is fine, but don't do it. I'm not a fan of it. I can't make them stop.
Yeah, you can't. I have tried on different occasions, but it doesn't stick. Yes, I have.
Okay.
Okay, so today's topic, we are going to be talking about...
Private battles and public wins.
Yes, and so we're going to be talking about David, and the Bible verse that we're going to be using is a very, very popular Bible story, and it's David and Goliath. And so just to get like a little bit of background as to who was David, David was the last brother of 8 brothers. Mm-hmm. And before he came into the picture, King Saul was appointed by people. So he became a king, the first king of Israel, because the people wanted a king. And then Samuel goes to Jesse's family, which is the dad, David, and anoints David and says, like, you're the next king. Nobody else knows about it. Nobody else has ever heard about it. Only the brothers and his parents. Mm-hmm. But even though he's anointed, he's still sent back to do what he was doing already, which was being a shepherd. Mm-hmm. He was tending the flock. And so now we're at the story where Israel is facing the Palestinians, and there's this giant who is tormenting Goliath. Them. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we're at.
Okay, we're going to be reading the condensed version. We're going to go from 1st of Samuel 17. We're going to start at 34 and then end at 37, and then we'll read the last part. 34 says, But David said to Saul, Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul said to David, Go, and the Lord be with you. And then we're going to jump to verse 49. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him.
Ok, y ahora lo vamos a leer en español. Es 1 de Samuel 17, vamos a leer de 34 a 37 y luego vamos a leer 49 y 50. So 34 dice, David le contestó, yo soy pastor de las ovejas de mi padre, pero si un león o un oso viene a llevarse alguna oveja, yo los persigo, los hiero y les quito del hocico la oveja. Si el león o el oso se me echan encima, yo los golpeo y los mato. Y eso mismo voy a hacer con este filisteo, pues ha desafiado los ejércitos de Dios vivo. Si Dios me ha librado de las garras de los leones y de osos, también me librará de este filisteo. Entonces Saúl le dijo a David, anda pues y que Dios te acompañe. El 49 dice, y sacando una piedra de su bolsa, disparó su honda y le pegó al filisteo en plena cara. La piedra se le clavó en la frente y el filisteo cayó de cara al suelo. Enseguida corrió David y se paró sobre Goliat. Le quitó su espada y de un solo golpe le cortó la cabeza. Así fue como, sin tener espada, David venció al filisteo. Lo mató con una sola honda y una piedra. Cuando los filisteos vieron muerto a su poderoso guerrero, salieron corriendo. So obviously, again, we're talking about private battles, public wins. And being the guest of honor, ma'am, have you had a situation where you've been dealing with like a private battle, whether it's like for many years or like a short period of time, and then you feel like God has come through in a very public way as a win?
I mean, yeah, it's wild because even as I was thinking, coming over on my way, and I was like, okay, what am I going to say? There's a number of stories that I can share, because there's always, you know, as in most people's life, there's always something to learn through and grow through, and sometimes it's challenging. A lot of times it's very challenging, and I was like, okay, well, which one can I say that God has come through in a public way? And it just, I can help it. Like it comes to mind, like some of the custody struggles that I've had with my child's father. And most people know that. I'm not like super private about that. It's like kind of obvious. I'm a single mom. But yeah, there's a lot of parts of that are very, very challenging that people don't know how deep that struggle has been for me, or how long of a struggle that's been for me. And even I was mentioning, like, even as I've been serving, you know, to God, and praying about it and fasting about it and doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do so that God could handle my battles for me the way that I wanted him to handle it. It wasn't happening that way. And I'm talking about, I would be at church once upon a time when I was like preaching and public speaking, and I would be getting bombarded with things that I'm like, God, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, why is this not going away? Why is this not being handled? And it just wasn't the season for that. And God showed me more recently now how big he was trying to make sure he could go for me beyond my wildest, like what I was asking for. So yeah, he's come through in a very public way, and maybe not public how people are expecting to see it. It's like, it's not plastered all over my social media, but it's been public in a different setting, where, you know, when you're in a courtroom, it gets real public real quick. You know, I'm talking about, there's people that you know, there's people that you used to know, there's people that you've never met a day in your life that have a lot of authority and power over your situation. There's people that are opposing your win in a very public and damaging way. And so when you think of winning something in a public audience or setting, I don't think it gets more public than a court, because there's so many mixtures of audiences in that I'm like, dang, you know, God's coming through. And little did I know that in one of the most recent situations, like, God showed out. And not to get into real detail about that, I don't want nobody's business. But when I'm telling you, he really showed out. I'm like, dang, God, that's not even what I was asking for. But if that's what you want to do, I will take it, and I will be super thankful about it. And now I can say that it makes sense why in those previous seasons, even though that's what I was praying for, it wasn't happening, because God had a plan of how that was going to go down, and it was going to go down like with a bow on top, you know?
Have you had any private battles like that?
A couple.
We can list some.
We can list some. I think one of the biggest ones that I think both of you has seen me go through and grow through has been like my personal self-image and self-love. I think a lot of people know my story. Even if I didn't say it, they kind of saw me go through it.
People you grew up with, at least.
Yes, for sure. When I was younger, I didn't have the best self-confidence. I didn't really think I fit in with the people that I was with, friends with at the time. And of course, you know, friends grow out of each other all the time. But for some reason, I just never felt like I fit in anywhere, honestly. And I never felt like I measured up to other people. I always felt less than. It wasn't other people's problem. It wasn't their fault. It was just an internal battle that I had myself, that I had to, you know, pray about, talk to God about, and actually really realize and accept that, like, I am who I am because God made me the way that I am. And it took a long time for me to realize that. But, you know, it came to a point where now that I am older, now that I know better, and I have gone through that hurdle, through that obstacle, through that trying time, now I'm like, I'm okay with myself. I like myself just the way I am. whether it's with or without makeup, which that is something
Oh, yeah,
big
that's
for me
a
to say.
big one, yeah.
And I can feel comfortable whether I am wearing pants or skirts, and it doesn't matter, or dresses.
It's so crazy to hear like the different sides of these private battles, right? Because I mean, in your case, like I know I've been through the private times with you, and I know how serious those have been. I know how it robs you of your peace, it robs you of your joy. I know that it has it's been crazy to see it, right? And I know that that's been like really hard on your end, and like that nobody sees that. But I also been like, your battle is completely different, but yet I still have seen you struggle with this to where it has robbed you of something. Maybe not your complete, or yeah, maybe your peace and your joy, and in a different way.
Yeah. Not so much in the way of like life, but definitely I have, lost countless nights of sleep. I have, dealt with my own private emotions, where people don't see in the middle of the night, or where I'm just like, why am I even trying to please somebody that doesn't want me? Or even like dealing with the fact that maybe I don't even want myself because I'm not happy with myself, and having to come to terms with things like that, where it's like you may not actually talk about it, you may not even want to actually even discuss something like that, because you don't know how somebody else might interpret it, or if they're either going to help you or damage you. When it comes to like, talking to somebody, whether it be in person, sharing it online, or even just reaching out to somebody for help. It's so hard when you're going through it, because you don't know what the other person's interests are, especially in your personal situation.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. So how do you guys, having two different battles here, but very like batalla fuerte, se puede decir.
In their own.
In their own way. Would you guys have liked que otras personas que ustedes look up to in the Christian world, that you guys know that they're believers, would want to see them sharing and be transparent when going through battles? And in your case, would you share, or would you rather keep private battles private?
I was gonna say, hold on. Excuse me. I was like, hold on. I know you're not just about to skip your story. I'm like, hold on. No, your story is different and your story is different. I'm like, hold on, because it's like there's so many different phases and flavors to like private struggles. I'm set you up, girl.
She's like, de hoy no te libres de esa.
Hold on, because I was like, ours are so like opposite, and it's not like one outranks the other to each person.
I guess like you went through yours a little later in life. I went through mine a little, closer to like when I was younger in life.
Too, but I get what you're saying.
No, like the specific one you're talking about right now.
Yeah, the one that I'm talking about, was as an adult, fully formed.
Yeah, mine was more when I was young, like a teenager.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like everybody has something in every season of life that they're gonna struggle with privately, that maybe you think like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. Why am I so weird? Why am I struggling with this? Like it's not that big of a deal, or maybe it's a huge deal and the sky is falling for you. But there's always something to like learn and grow and maybe even share. So I'm like, man, what's your flavor, ma'am? Like, what is that?
One of my favorite battles that I would like to share is like this house, right? So like, I married really young. I was like 19. I do not recommend this, by the way. Pero I married really young. I was 19 years old. And so we were like literally teenagers trying to figure out who we were and what we were doing. And we didn't have the best jobs. Yes, I had a good paying job, but for 19. Yeah. For that season of life. And so I remember that we moved in together. We had an apartment, whatever. But there were a lot of moments where we didn't have enough money to pay our light bill or buy groceries. And we would get out payday loans. to be able to do that. And I remember like standing in the line of the payday thing, and then es como que like toda la pared es de vidrio. So I was like, oh my God, somebody's gonna drive through and see me in here
you're
during
right,
this
from the
payday
outside.
loan. And it's like, and it's
I'm
something
gonna be recognized.
I'm gonna be recognized.
embarrassing.
Yes, like this is embarrassing. Like people are gonna know that I'm struggling with money and I can't. Para que me casé, all the things, right? So
It's crazy how the perfect thoughts come.
Yes.
That perfect hateful thoughts come in for every.
yes, and so it was like something that it was private, pero it could easily be public.
Right.
Entonces, you know, but years later, we literally been married for 11 years now. We have this house, and I'm like, dang God, from having nothing. That's why I even like tell Oscar now, like sometimes I just literally like I'm sitting in my couch, not TV, not on my phone, and I just looking out around, and I'm like, damn God, you really did this.
He did that, girl.
I was like, you really gave us this house. Like it was nothing. And even leading up to getting this house, there was like another moment where we were about to get it and it didn't happen because other people were involved. And I've shared this where like other people could have taken the glory. And then God was like, nah, we're gonna that's not gonna work. And so then finally this happened, and it happened so quickly. Like we were talking about it with Oscar. This was pre, you know, the sky is falling for everybody and everybody's trying to get a house. But literally we got a house in less than like 3 months. Like I think it was like overall like two months. Ya teníamos casa.
It was so.
Look at that.
It was so fast.
It was so fast. 'Cause I remember like talking to you, and I was like, "Oh dang! Like I'm so upset the other house didn't work." But then like out of nowhere, I was like,
We
oh,
got
what?
it. It was like actually
dang.
we started the process in October, and we got the house. We were supposed to close on the house on the 21st of December because that's my birthday. So literally like
Happy birthday to you, girl.
yes, and that's what I was like. Oh my God, Lord, you love me. It was my birthday gift. It didn't
Isn't that
happen.
wild?
It didn't happen on December 21st though. Things happen. Private battles happen. Like there was a situation with the house, and we got it all figured out. But nonetheless, here I am, and it's crazy because public win, right?
Yeah.
I shared a Instagram post on it, and I was like, "We're homeowners," and everybody's like, "Congratulations!" And they see the pretty things, but nobody
knows.
has known.
Yeah.
And you guys have been with me for like a long time. Like I've known y'all 10 years plus, 15 years plus, and I've never even shared this with you guys. It was extremely private. But with that said, back to my question now.
Te doy permiso. Continúa.
shared.
Prosiga. Is that a word?
Yes,
Okay.
prosiga.
Prosiga.
Would you guys have liked to have someone that you look up to as a believer and be like, hey, I'm going through XYZ struggle, or even like if you're going through a struggle, would you like to share that so that it can encourage other believers like, hey, you're not the only one out here struggling?
You know, when I was younger, when I was going through it, I did share it with a couple of people. Not a lot of people. It was a couple. Some were kind of helpful.
But not
The
social
others-
media.
Not social media. But some others were not really helpful. Like, it was like the
You gotta
opposite.
be careful, girl.
Yeah, it was the total opposite.
Not
it was
everybody
more like
gets happy for your wins, girl.
exactly. It was more the opposite. They were like, "What do you mean? Like, oh, you're so immature. Like, get over yourself. Like, who the heck cares?" And then I would be like, "Dang, like this
Who
is just a
cares?
personal like problem for me."
Haters.
And then I also had some other people, you know, that season in my life lasted a couple years, unfortunately, but I'm past it. But, you know, closer to, as I was coming to a close to the end of that season, I had people like Melissa where she was just like, you know what, like, that is your problem. That is your season that you're going through. And for you, it is valid. Maybe not to just anybody.
Yeah.
They may not understand that. But to you, this is your problem. It may not be your
Yeah.
problem, it may not be your problem, but it's my problem. And to me, it did rob me my peace.
Yeah.
But now that I've gone through that season and I'm not going through it, I have my moments where I'm just like, oh, I'm not feeling my best. But I mean, I think, and everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Now I have shared it even online where I'm like, self-love part 1, self-love part 2, and I'll feel
influencer, whatever.
and I'll feel comfortable in anything that I wear, whether it be with or without makeup, you know.
Yeah.
And I will be okay.
So do you think that, would you, so you're now okay with sharing
I'm okay with
it?
sharing it now. I would not recommend sharing through something while you're going through it.
Where you still don't have like a win or even like a
Exactly.
lesson learned.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's crazy because I don't share a lot of that so publicly because I'm like, my story is still developing. So even though I feel like my story is still not at this perfect happy ending, I know that I can give glory to God for every stage or every problem that He's seen me through. And I can share those wins along the way. Even though they've been private, I know some of it I can share. And then how I'm going to share that's like per case. I don't think every story is meant for social media.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
And I agree with what you were saying, like maybe figure out where you're going before you start sharing and then share that. And I think that's what I've been doing. Sometimes I do it one-on-one, sometimes I do it with people at work, sometimes I might maybe put some stuff on social media. I don't think I'm an influencer like that, but maybe there's somebody that can relate, and that's good enough.
You know,
Exactly.
it's crazy because we were talking about this last week where I'm like, I don't think I'm an influencer at all. I mean, like at all, right? La gente que está en mi Instagram is because people that I know for years.
Yeah.
But I even noticed that those people are still watching. So like in your case, like your daughter is still watching. So you're still an influencer because you're still influencing somebody.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't think that every battle is meant to be shared in such a public space like social media. Because, yes, even though for the most part our friends are there, we have our friends as followers or whatever. But then there's, like, random people that follow you also. And it's like, you don't know their thoughts or their opinions or even your own friends. There's some that are, like, really close to you and there's some that are not. And you just don't know if they're rooting you on or like hating in the background.
But I think we are called to share those testimonies.
Yes, I do.
That's a big part of like what we're called to do as girl, your model too, like being the salt and light of the world. Like you're supposed to spread that stuff. You can't keep it to yourself. You can't light up in the darkness by yourself. You gotta let it shine wherever it's gonna go. And we're called to. We have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
God will convict you on how that needs to happen.
So whenever you're sharing these stories or these battles, whether it is through social media or whether it is through like a one-on-one, have you guys ever experienced like somebody giving you advice? For example, in our case, right, both of us have kids. Emily, you don't, but you have experience with kids in a different way, and now you're going to school to become a teacher, and I know that you have like child psychology and all this other stuff. So have you ever experienced to where like people that maybe have not gone through your same experience want to give you advice on your current battle? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think I'm very selective. I think, it's also up to me to protect my ears and protect my heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's feedback, honestly, it's not well received all the time. Yeah. Or sometimes people's feedback is not even appropriate, or it's not, like, you can tell that the intention is more like from a judgmental standpoint. Like, you should have, or you could have, or all these things where you haven't lived or walked my story. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. Not to say that people, like, with your example, that people that haven't necessarily been in that same scenario can't give you a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's where I appreciate it. But I also think that it's just like, for me personally, when I'm about to give advice, I wait for it to be kind of solicited. I don't just walk around because I've gone through all this. Me sharing my testimony is not giving people advice. That's very different for me. I can only tell you what I did. If you ask me for my advice based on my experience and my testimony, then I have the green light to proceed. And then even then I do it with caution because I don't know everybody.
You just never know.
You just never know. So I think that's kind of how I handle it and how I give it. Like, it's just with caution. Caution at all times, yeah.
So me working around with so many kids for, I don't even know, as long as I can remember, I have had moments where I'm learning things in school and I try to apply it to my life.
Yeah.
especially in work wise. I think I've even had this situation with you. Back when I was a little younger, I was still studying. I was barely starting out, and I had my first, I guess, childcare class, and I was really excited. And I was helping out a family friend, helping their kid learn how to read, and so they could go to the next level for reading. They were a little older; they weren't as young, so I would go do that for a bit, and I would notice, that this little girl was struggling. And I was like, you are too old to be confusing your D's with your B's, your S's with your so many different letters, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not trying to diagnose your child.
Oh,
But I think, yeah, this wasn't with you, this was somebody else.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think she has dyslexia. And I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm not trying to diagnose them. I'm not saying that this is what they have, but I would suggest you give her extra help. Ask the teachers.
Yeah.
Ask them around, because I am not someone, I'm not a professional, but it's not because she's not trying. She is trying, but she's having too much of a hard time for as long as I have been helping her. Turned out the child was dyslexic. And now she's getting the proper help. She's getting the adequate teachers that are helping her. And now she can read, properly. It's still hard, don't get me wrong. But I did that with somebody else, like with my current boss. And she was like, I appreciate the advice, but I don't think so.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, no, like, no.
Hello?
But did she
And no.
ask you, like, hey, have you noticed?
Well-
or was it more like, hey,
Well, with
I have
her,
seen?
with my boss, it's a very specific scenario, because I do everything with her kids. And when I pick them up from school, not only do they get out of school, oh, it's playtime. No, let's sit down, let's read a book, let's do our ABCs, let's do our math. So I am involved in their education. Like, I'm involved with them learning.
Yeah.
So she comes to me and she asks me, how did they do?
Okay,
what
so
did they learn?
she asked you.
So she asked
That's part
me.
of your feedback.
Exactly. So it's like she asked me, but it's not something that she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But at the same
mean, she wasn't
time,
probably
she's
ready
like,
for it.
yeah, it could be a possibility, but I don't think so. Because again, she knows her child.
Exactly.
And that's her kid. That's not my kid.
And so that's the thing that I feel like with people giving advice, sometimes we give advice based on what, our own experience, our own knowledge, or whatever the case may be, but we don't really know what they have gone through in the private setting.
Exactly.
So like in your case, in your boss, I mean, the same thing it will be with my kid. If somebody tries to tell me something about my kid, I'll take your advice. Sure, I'll take it in consideration. I'll assess the situation, but I also know my kid. I also know,
Exactly.
I can tell you, actually, no, he's not dyslexic. He's just being lazy right now, and he thinks he can play you.
Exactly.
Don't let him fool
Don't
you.
let him fool you. You know what
Which
I
is
mean?
basically what she told me. She's like, no, just keep reading with him. Keep going. It's fine.
Déjale quito el teléfono, déjale quito el Nintendo y se le quita la dyslexia. But
Yeah.
it's like not every kid.
And then don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna go to just a random person and be like, hey,
yeah.
like
I
your
studied your
kid,
kid.
exactly, like your kid is not smart enough, they need some help. Like, I'm not gonna do that either.
Like,
you
I
know?
saw him get down the slide at the playground and he did it backwards. So that's enough for me to say that something's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, be careful. Your testimony,
Yeah.
your private struggle, your private or your public win, it's meant to be shared, but I think there's also like a responsibility for you to do that with like grace. Even if you're having to
sure.
have a tough conversation, be like, look, my experience and my background and my years and years of watching and studying this and my classes and courses tell me that these are the signs of dyslexia or whatever.
Yeah.
You still have to be mindful and deliver that in a way that people are receptive. If your true intention is for
Yeah.
it to be helpful
Yeah.
and
Like,
not
not
to be
to actually
judgmental,
hurt them?
yeah, then
Yeah.
your delivery has to be like graceful.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And
Yeah.
then we also gotta realize that when you do share out there, you're also sharing to just anybody. You don't
Yeah.
know what those people, how they will receive it and how they
You
will respond.
cannot predict the outcome of what you
Exactly.
share. That's wild.
Like in the case of David, he went out there. He was like, "I'm gonna defeat this giant." So, King Saul was like, "Go for it. Let me give you the things that you will need." And then when he realized, he was like, "I don't need it." Okay, that's fine. He did his thing. But
Go
then at
for
the
it.
end of
Good
the
luck.
day, the King Saul ended up being jealous and being kind of like wary of David. Like,
Yeah, afterwards, many years later, yeah.
So things like that, where it's like, you just gotta be careful.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that too. I mean, obviously, like one of our like slogans with Vivid Set is that, you know, being salt and light is our identity and our responsibility. So I definitely agree with like we have to take on this identity of like this is our duty to share it, but also just be careful because you're also going through the process. This is not like just because you even then if you have like a public win, like let's say like right now, like I shared right my house, right? This is like a public win that God came through in this private battle, pero puede ser que todavía no hayamos terminado. Puede ser que he gives me a better house, o puede ser que he, you know, says
un huracán, girl, pasa algo aquí también.
exactly,
Yeah.
like so it's like just be mindful, like you said, guard your heart, guard your mind, guard yourself.
Isn't that crazy though? Because even like, I don't know if that just happens to me or what, and this is off the cuff, I'm just telling y'all. When you feel like a win, for example, with my recent situation, I'm not going to share what it is, but you kind of know. I'm afraid to share those wins. Sometimes, not because I don't think it's part of my testimony, or not because I don't think that God should be glorified in these things, or not even because I'm looking for what the right audience would be. I'm just like, God, I don't want to get too proud. I don't want to get too carried away because I was struggling with this for so long in private. And now that I feel like something good happened and it's so amazing, now I'm going to somehow be super confident. Like I wasn't just crying about this, you know, in the last few months. So I'm like, God, like make sure that whenever I share it, however I share it, that I'm never like, I did that. Or not even I did that, but I'm like, I deserve that. Because I didn't deserve it. I don't deserve any of it.
It's crazy
You know
that
what I
you
mean?
say that because even like this David, like later on in life, he started out real humble, right? He was like a little shepherd boy, and he was like doing his thing, kill the lion, kill the bear, kill Goliath. All right, vamos ahí, escalando.
Bigger and bigger
and
and
then
bigger.
he goes into matar a un montón de soldiers. Que even the king wouldn't do it. But then he got real cocky.
Exactly.
And
Lord, please don't let that be me.
he took somebody else's wife.
You see?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean.
And then, you know, he had some
God
consequences.
had to
Took
knock
care
him
of
a
it.
couple pegs down.
Exactly.
Boy, I wanted you right here. You know, you do it too
You being a
much.
little
Bring
extra.
it back down. Yeah, you know, so that's why I read these stories and these testimonies.
Yeah.
From way back when, and even current, more updated examples, and I'm like, cool it, you know, be thankful, share what you gotta share, do it gracefully, but at the end of the day, know that you're still human. Like I said, my story is still developing for good or for bad, and I'm like, God, let me keep my head down and make sure that I'm always still working, and I'm always still serving, and I'm always still praying, no matter how bad my dark times are or how good my wins are. Let me keep my same energy, faith, gratitude, conviction, my responsibility. Let me continue to walk this walk how you want me to do it.
Let me say humble and gracious.
Yeah. Because you just never know when it can change.
You never know. If that ain't the fear of God, you know.
It's like it's like you get your public win and you reacted like a bad way, and you're like, you know what? You're about to go back to the battle.
Yeah. And I'm like,
No
you know what?
aprendiste.
I'm sorry. I learned, I promise you. And so that's my fear there. And it's like a healthy fear.
For
I don't want to be
sure.
like, oh, I'm so afraid to be a believer and be so proud.
No.
No, the fear of God is just like, that's my compass.
Yeah. And so moving forward to our Reddit segment, Am I the Asshole?
Híjole.
I think this is going to be an interesting one.
It's going to be a spicy one.
A spicy one. Dale, Emily.
Okay.
Okay. This one is titled, Am I the Asshole for Putting a Private Conversation on Loudspeaker, which cost my brother his 18-year relationship? Off the bat, what do y'all think?
Just by reading the title, I would say, just if I didn't know the story, I would say yes.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I don't know any, like, context.
yeah.
But just, like, a private conversation, why are you going to put it on public speaker?
What about you, Kati?
Just by the title.
Just by the title.
What, just by the title,
So the title is, Am I the Asshole for Putting a Private Conversation on Loudspeaker, which cost my brother his 18-year relationship?
You're right. Just by the title, it does sound like if you even have to question this,
Yeah.
you know you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
You know?
Alrighty. Let's see if y'all change your minds. Okay. Okay, guys. I'm extremely tired and it's been a long day, so please excuse any poor grammar or spelling mistakes. To begin, my brother Ben, 39 male, fake names only, has been in a relationship with Abby, 39 female, for 18 years. They've been engaged 8 years. They've nearly gotten married 3 years ago, but months before the wedding, Ben chickened out. They went to therapy, and basically, because our dad left us, he had issues with commitment. We thought over the last year he was finally gonna step up for Abby and be the partner she deserves. He did seem a bit anxious leading up to the big day, but assured everyone he was okay. Today, they were meant to get married, but as Abby and us bridesmaids were about to enter the church, Ben was nowhere to be found. Everyone tried to calm her down, saying it was traffic, or he probably had a monster hangover. Well, an hour passed, then 2, then 3, and then after the 4th hour mark, Abby said, F it, she was going back to the hotel, call her when he landed. My family looked panicked and nervous, trying to get through to Ben or the groomsmen who had not yet arrived. My other brothers and brother-in-laws, sister's husband, went looking for him, thinking he got hurt or arrested the night before. I went back to the hotel with a very broken-looking Abby. We drank and ate food for another hour before I got a text from my brother-in-law saying they found him in a bar and they were trying to talk him into going to his own wedding.
flags.
Red flags. My sister rang her husband and heard him in the background. He was literally acting like a 5-year-old who didn't want to go to the doctor.
Red
Honestly,
flags already.
honestly, guys, I had enough at this stage. He messes with this girl about too long, and frankly, leading someone along for 18 years is just cruel.
Yeah.
So here's where I may be the asshole of the century. I walked into Abby's room and told her to be quiet. Then I rang my brother-in-law, put him on loudspeaker, and asked him what was going on. That for him to put Ben on the phone, the drunk fool started saying crap like he didn't think she was the one, and he is only with her because they've been together too long, and he is scared to be alone.
Trash.
I let her hear everything. I won't lie, I felt like a monster when she started crying. Abby then grabbed the phone, told him he had 1 hour to get to the church, or it was over
Heck
for
no.
good.
She gave him more time.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Long story short, Ben ended up at the church 20 minutes later, and Abby took off her dress, then left the hotel alone. So he ended up being left at the altar, and she went on the honeymoon alone. I've been disowned by everyone except 2 siblings, which are sisters, and I had to get Abby's maid of honor to collect my suitcase from outside the hotel because my mom dumped it out when she found out.
Savage.
I'm the full blame for ruining their relationship, and 98% of my family hates me.
It's
Am I the
crazy that
asshole?
no.
The family is the asshole.
Exactly. Actually, besides the
In
guy,
addition.
Yeah.
addition to the guy being the groom, being the asshole, I think the family, because I feel like they have enabled this man to
for
act
sure.
this way.
For sure.
Why are you gonna blame? And actually, when we had first read it, like skimmed through it, I thought it was like a brother of the groom, but no, it's a sister of the groom. So that makes even more sense why she put this
Oh, yes.
conversation on display.
Oh, it was a woman.
It
It's a
was
woman.
a woman, because as a woman you
Oh, a
could be
brother.
like,
Yeah.
man, that could be me. Some guy could
Yeah,
be playing me
she
for
had girl
18 years. Girl code.
And you know what's crazy? Like, they've been in a relationship for so long. They almost got married, but he chickened out at the last minute, at the last couple months before the wedding. And here they are trying again. You would think that after a long time of dating and being engaged for almost 8 years, you would think that the family would see this girl as part
As
of their
a
family,
daughter,
as
yeah.
a daughter-in-law, like a friend, another sister.
Yeah.
They grew
Like,
up together.
Exactly. You would feel like some sort of
You
way
feel
for this
for
girl.
her.
You would even like ask, you know, if I did something wrong, my parents would chastise me and be like, get your crap together. This is not the way you treat somebody else. But the
Yeah.
parents were like, no, like
Dejen a mi
leave my son alone. You ruined his relationship. When no,
Those are the
man,
type
to me.
the man was late 4 hours to his wedding, and yet he was still late when
No, and I
the when
don't-
the
and then talking mess like,
bride
oh, I'm
gave him
just-
extra time.
I'm just with her because
I don't want to be alone,
Uh-huh,
and
I don't
we've been
wanna be
together
alone.
for too long.
Yeah, like that is so messed. Oh, she's not the one. Like that is so messed
What
up.
was she?
In
Like,
other
and
words,
you're
he
gonna
was
tell
like,
me
"Oh, I'm
that
settling for her because
the-
I don't want to be alone."
The sister is the one that ruined the relationship. Y'all don't
Fully?
see that.
They said fully blame her.
Like that is crazy. So verdict: asshole, not the asshole. The sister.
No, she's not. She is the savior. She's the only person with a moral compass,
Yep.
with some damn sense,
Yep.
with some humanity
Yep.
for looking at this girl, the soon to be bride, and saying, look, you were about to get married 3 years ago and I didn't say nothing. I'm not going to miss this chance right now, you
Yeah.
know? And she probably had a relationship with her. Like, it's just wild that the family supported the groom that way. That's the type of family that drives the getaway car when the son committed murder or something. Instead of being like, son, why would you do this? I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna go turn you in. I'm gonna get you a good attorney. I'll put some money on your books, on your commissary or something.
Yeah.
But not like get away with murder. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're letting him get away with murder for 18 years. This girl can't even have babies no more. They're in their 40s now.
Oh,
You
that
just
is
wasted her
true.
entire life, her
Like her
entire
prime.
future, her prime. She can't even move on to the next guy and be like, let me start over because 18 years you wasted
Dang.
of all of her good baby making years. Anyways, I could go on. Like I felt some type of way clearly.
Clearly.
So no, the sister, good for you, girl. You deserve an award.
Not the asshole. I think that, all she did was put her phone on speaker. She did not tell
didn't
the
make it
groom what to say or what to do. So she's not responsible for her brother's actions. She was not the asshole. The asshole is the groom all the way, and the family for enabling that behavior. Because if he got away with it the first time, after the first the first actual wedding that didn't happen, and now he got a second chance, sir, she's a saint. You messed it up. That's your problem. You're the asshole. She's not the asshole. The sister. She's not the asshole.
And she might not have been a saint, right? She might have
She
been like
might
a
not have
sloppy
been.
person or like
Who knows? Yeah,
whatever.
we don't know.
Who knows? We don't know the full story. we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
only like make some kind of evaluation off of like a couple paragraphs here.
Yeah.
Have no idea what the backstory is or whatever. But still, based on just
Based
those
on just
simple
this.
facts, like no,
Yeah.
she was wrong.
I agree. She's not the asshole. He is. And his whole family. And his mama and his
And his daddy and the other siblings.
Let's bring it down
And
a little.
the groom's party, whatever, right? They were all missing together. Nobody was
No, they
answering.
were trying to look for
They were
him.
looking for him,
Okay.
Yeah.
and they found him at a
I
bar.
still trying
drunk.
to believe that. Okay.
But yeah, but I mean, honestly, that's messed up. And I mean, you guys, I'm glad that there are some things that put on public, and I feel bad for the girl because I'm pretty sure the sister was like, look, I know that this is gonna be really heartbreaking to hear. I know that this is gonna be really hard to like listen to all the crap that he's about to say, but you need to hear it in order for you to move on. If it
And
took
not waste
you
any more of
18
your
years,
life.
like most likely you're just so in love with this man and so blinded
something,
by
used
that,
to it,
so
yeah.
you really need to like see the full picture and so that you're able to move on. And she moved on and went to the honeymoon by herself.
Good for her.
Hopefully she doesn't find another man because she needs some healing,
Yeah.
but still, like,
She needs to reevaluate why she gave somebody 18 years of her life.
Look,
one.
that's 2
That
decades
one.
gone. Look.
I was like, by year 2 or 3, I would have been like, what's up? Where are we going with this?
8 years of engagement. I'm sorry, it takes you 8 years to
We were about to get married 3 years ago. That would have been it for me. We didn't do it. All right, wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks
Bye.
for helping me dodge that
Yeah.
bullet. Goodbye. Hope you
Yeah.
figure out your
Yeah.
demons. I'm gonna go this way.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
With that
funny.
said, this is almost the end of our podcast.
Wowza.
Before we leave, anything that you guys want to leave the people with this private battles, public wins episode?
Look, there's never just gonna be the one. Let's just say that right now. There's never just gonna be one battle. There's gonna be multiple, and just because we're Christians does not mean we're gonna have a hard time. We're
Yeah.
probably gonna have it harder. Just being real. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't have your back. And just because you're having a hard situation doesn't mean that God is not gonna be by your side. Just because the wind doesn't look the way that you want it to look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Kathy?
Yeah, no, I would say like for the people going through something privately right now, whether it's been a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple years, I would say like keep your faith, like continue to, pour your heart out to God, continue to work in private because I do think some stuff does need to be handled in private in due time. If God puts that conviction in you to, share whenever you're ready, go ahead and do that. But for now, don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Continue to push forward, even though you may be by yourself, or with a select few for that period. But just know that it can't rain forever. Like God did not make you just to be in a constant state of suffering. And I had to constantly figure out how to remind myself of that. Because for a while with my situation, I was like, this is my life. I can't believe this is my life. I made this one mistake and now I got to live with it for the rest of my life and there's no hope. Don't even look forward to what the future could be. And it was real bad. It was real like, the devil messing with my thoughts. But I found refuge in my church, in my community, in fellowship, in having a few, solid confidants, whatever, however you say it, people that you could trust with opening up and kind of iron sharpens irons in those moments. And then continuing to press forward and not lose my faith as hard as in some moments that was, because it was like, God, why me? God, why you don't hear me? God, why I'm doing everything to get myself out of this as your Bible, as I have been taught in church, and I still don't see something. So again, for those of you going through it, know that God did not make you just to suffer, and that everything is for a season. I can't tell you how long your season is. Ain't no telling, but keep your head up. Even on your own, your day will come where you can have something to publicly celebrate, and God will do it for you.
Yeah, I agree. I would say like wait on the Lord, honestly. Like you were saying, and I mean both of you guys, like the going through that battle by yourself is going to be hard, and there's some times where you have to do it alone, and you have to make sure that you have to remember that the only way that you're going to get out of it is with God. Like he is going to have you back no matter what. La palabra dice que a veces tu madre y tu padre te dejarán, pero él no te deja. Like he is always going to be with you no matter what, no matter how much you've fallen on your face, no matter how much you've been faithful and just like, it doesn't matter. Like he's always going to be with you, and he's always working, even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it. He is there working on you. And even when the enemy tries to tell you and tries to like take all the things and make it for evil, again, the word of God says that he turns it and still makes it for good. That's right. Like you may not understand it. It may not make sense to you right this moment, but eventually it will. It will make sense to you, and not only to you, but it will bless other people around you. That's right. You'll be able to share this testimony and glorify God with it. So this is our private battle, public wins episode. We hope and we pray that you guys got some really, really good information and stuff from it, and that you're able to apply it into your life. Remember, this is a light tap into this subject. This is the perfect time for you to do your own Bible study, but in the sense that, our testimony kind of helped you in some way. Leave it in the comments below if you want us to pray for you, if you want to talk about whatever battle you're going through based on our experience. You may be able to relate to Kathy, you may be able to relate to Emily, or relate to myself. We are here to support each other as one body and be the salt and light.
That's right.
And that is it for today, you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.